Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. The hashtag is NewsGang. Please do interact with us at Citizen TV Kenya. We look forward to hearing from you. So we want to wrap up with, the Nairobi governorship seat, and then also talk a little bit about the nominations and the deadline that's coming tomorrow. Plus, of course, the running mate, do we call it a headache still?
Challenge.
It's really a big challenge. Jamila, you'd wanted to...
Yes, Yvonne, I think one of the things that the party that's sponsoring Polycarp Igathe and the Azimio One Kenya coalition party would need to do, if they do ultimately make the announcement, maybe tomorrow, saying that Polycarp Igathe will be the flag bearer, something I think which should Polycarp Igathe should have waited for tomorrow for that announcement, because I think in some instance, maybe, I know it's good TV, it's a news story, it's breaking, but I think it's something you should have done. Anyway, once they do that tomorrow, they'll have now the task of selling him to Nairobians. Remember what we're talking about now, he was not anywhere in people's hearts and minds until about 2-3 days ago, number one. Number two, remember, we've talked about Tim Wanyonyi, and we've talked about Agnes Kagure, we've talked about Richard Ngate, we've talked about even the current governor, Anne Kananu. They all have supporters. So you need to convince them that this is the guy you need to support, Yvonne. And I think also the way we've just been listening to Polycarp Igathe speaking, it's almost kwa Kiswahili tunasema kujipiga kifua. In terms of saying like, hii kiti ni yangu nishaichukua. And you can't say that. I know there are some areas in this country, Yvonne, where nominations ilikuwa kichinjio. Gashuri anapenda kusema kichinjio, because those are areas where, if you get a particular ticket, you're almost 90% in. In fact, the nomination battles are bigger than the election. The election huko itakuwa almost formality. Nairobi is not the case. And I don't think any party right now can claim to have the majority, that it can comfortably say that mtu wetu atashinda hivyo hivyo. Because of that tribal arithmetic we keep talking about, we can't ignore that. Kuna makabila tofauti ambayo ana watu wengi, 2.5 million voters wamegawanywa katika makabila hayo. So you have to keep that in mind. And I hope there isn't much time. Tomorrow ndo hii inakuja to decide the lineup, viti hivyo vyote na mutangaze. It should be a very interesting 24 hours.
Yeah, and you speak about Nairobi and what this means for the race. So on the other end, that's Kenya Kwanza. They've settled on Johnson Sakaja as the ticket bearer for the seat come August the 9th. And Polycarp Igathe had a few things to say about his would-be opponent on the other side.
We'll beat him at exactly 8:57 a.m. It will be a done job, because all educated people, all the people who are my supporters, they wake up at 5 in the morning. They'll have lined up, and by 6 they'll have voted. 8:57 we'll have finished that job.
Why 8:57? Why not 9 o'clock?
No, don't worry. 3 minutes to 9, he'll have lost the election, and this will be an Azimio ticket.
Okay, so one of the things I wanted us to just go through quickly, Gashuri, is what this means for, the presidential race in Nairobi. Does this portend good or, bad news for Raila Odinga's candidature in Nairobi?
There's a challenge there, and I would say the challenge is in, first of all, pacifying those whose gubernatorial bids will have been shelved. We're talking about, if the ticket was to remain with Igathe as is being discussed, then you will have to really convince Tim Wanyonyi, who has been out there for the last 2 years or thereabout campaigning. You will have to convince him to shelve his bid. Number two, you will have to convince Richard Ngate, who has also been out and about looking for the seat, and Kagure, current governor, Anne Kananu. You also have to look beyond the governor's seat, because it's a package, it's a lineup in Nairobi. You're talking about the governor, the running mate, the senator, the woman rep. You're talking about the parliamentary seats, 17 of them in Nairobi. You're talking about 85 wards in Nairobi. Yep. So you have to balance the math in such a way that you manage the fallout, basically. And see, here's a scenario. Edwin Sifuna, the ODM Secretary General, is looking for the Senate seat in Nairobi. So you have to consider him as well. We also have Esther Passaris, who is looking for the woman rep position. There's also Beatrice Komboka, who is the nominated senator in Nairobi and is looking for the woman rep position. Maina Kamanda has been looking for the Senate seat. So the headache may seem like it is on the governor candidate, but there's also another bigger challenge to pacify all these aspirants who are eyeing various elective seats. And you have a scenario where Jubilee will not field a candidate, and ODM fields a candidate, and even probably Wiper fields a candidate, and they all expect to win, especially when there's a strong candidate from the Kenya Kwanza team. So, yes, not all of them will be able to vie for governor. So you have to convince them that leave this one, take this one. So you'll also see a scenario where most likely some of the people who have been campaigning, let's say, for the Senate seat, will have to drop their bids. Some of them who have been campaigning for the woman rep position, they will be forced out of that race. But you also have to compensate them and convince them that leave this, we will give you another position, either through nomination or something else. And that must be done by tomorrow.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the tears and the gnashing of teeth tomorrow because, and by the way, take note that as soon as this is done, Honorable Raila Odinga is heading to the US. So he's likely to leave a lot of dust
in his wake,
and hope that when he comes back, it will have settled.
And you've mentioned an important deadline that's coming up tomorrow. So by the 22nd of April, 2022, which is tomorrow, all political parties must have concluded the nominations exercise and resolved any disputes arising thereof, because on the 28th, they will now present a list of the nominees across all seats to the IEBC, you know, which will then now publish and gazette them, and now we'll know who will be on the ballot for the various seats. Jamila, speaking of that deadline, give us the rundown of, you know, tomorrow it's really down to the wire for, you know, parties like ODM as well.
It's true, Yvonne, because remember, ODM had given us a calendar from, I think, 1st of April to 21st. They were going to do nominations in different parts of the country.
Nominations.
Staggered, thank you. UDA on 14th of April, they did it in one day. Of course, they had a few that they had to repeat in different areas because of different reasons. They were contested, the results. There was vurugu. It didn't happen. We even witnessed a bit of vurugu. Was it on Tuesday in some areas? But UDA seemed to have resolved most of the issues. Now, ODM has some areas where they're going to do kura ya mchujo kesho. In Nairobi, Mombasa County, the county women representative ticket has not been handed out. There's going to be mchujo. In Nairobi County, the Member of Parliament Westlands, Langata and Kibra, those tickets have also not been given out. It's tomorrow. All county assembly wards in Nairobi except Upper Savannah, Waithaka, Kayole North, Kayole Central, Dandora Area 2, Dandora Area 1, Pipeline, Molem, Kawa West, Zimmerman, and Ngara wards. Those are the only ones which have been concluded. All the others have not been concluded. In Siaya...
Oh, Ngara ward has been concluded.
No.
Did you say?
Not yet, except Ngara. Ngara has been concluded, yes.
Yes.
All the others have not.
So,
yes.
Yeah,
Siaya County, Siaya County, the primaries that had been scheduled to take place in Game constituency. I found this very weird, Yvonne. The primaries that had been scheduled to take place in Game constituency tomorrow have been postponed until further notice. Hakuna time ya further notice. There has to be agreement mali mtu apewe ticket. There is no further notice. This is it for kesho. So there is that happening tomorrow. And Yvonne, as I said, tomorrow is going to be a very busy day for parties. Hakuna extension. UDA has to finish, hand out all the tickets. ODM has to do the same. Jubilee has to do the same. All the other parties, from Ford Kenya to DAPK to ANC, all those, they have to finish that by tomorrow. And then now, Mombasa is a bit interesting for me, Yvonne, as we finish. We have ODM flag bearer who's Abdul Samad Sharif Nasir, the current member of parliament from Mvita. And then we have Hassan Omar, who's the UDA candidate. And now we have former Governor Mike Sonko, who's going to run for governor on a Wiper ticket. And then Ali Mbogo, who's the current member of parliament, I think, for Kisauni, is going to be his running mate. Mombasa will be very interesting, Yvonne.
Yeah.
Because kuna maswala ya kura, ya muungano mmoja.
Two parties within the same coalition, you know, are fielding candidates.
And Yvonne, as I finish also, I think also I need to talk about Northeastern Province.
Yeah.
They also have battles there because Jubilee, for some reason, seems to be a popular party in that region for politicians, because you have 3 or 4 in one region all looking for the Jubilee ticket. Then the decisions have not been made. Tonight will be a very long night for a lot of them. I'm talking about Mandera and also Wajir, those running for governor. I think in Mandera there are 4 who are waiting for the Jubilee ticket, and in Garissa, in Wajir, I'm not sure how many there are, but there is that also going on. So it's just not Nairobi. We need to call out at the whole country where tikiti zinatafutwa kwa udi na uvumba.
Yeah. So it's going to be a long night tonight, of course, in the lead up to that one. But here's another one.
Have you forgotten there's no deal in Nyandaro, for example?
Yes.
Francis Kimemia, Governor, and Cecilia Kariuki, the former CS.
So there's quite a bit that's left unresolved, and I bet there's a lot of negotiations happening now, at this very moment, and throughout the night ahead of that deadline tomorrow. But here's another headache, Linus, a running mate question. And it seems to be particularly more contested in Azimio. I mean, we're not seeing, the same sort of well, maybe not squabbles, but maybe we call it battles, for the same as we've seen in Azimio. And let's start with, Kalonzo Musyoka, the Wiper Party leader. He has been on this, like from the start, from the time they were wooing him up until this point. Linus is just not letting this go, is he?
So there's something in these automated services when you call or try and get a service online and you're told, for this service, press 1. For that other one, press 2. And I can't help thinking of that when it comes to Kalonzo Musyoka's quest for the position of running mate in Azimio. It's that dogged. It's that blatant these days, increasingly. He's moved from that absence of clarity on whether he's supporting Raila Odinga or not. That he has made it clear that Raila Odinga is and should be the presidential candidate for Azimio. And then he goes on to give very many varied positions that say the same thing, that basically, I am next in command in terms of seniority, in terms of what he brings to the table. And when he makes that reference to what he brings to the table, obviously, Kalonzo Musyoka is referring to his political influence in the southern eastern region, where really you cannot ignore his power there and his influence in the politics of Ukambani. He still controls a substantial amount of support, even if there are other emerging leaders like Charity Ngilu, like Professor Kivutha Kibwana and Dr. Mutua in Machakos. The order has not really changed. He still remains the senior-most politician from Ukambani, who has a lot of influence and sway on how the voting patterns would go in that region. And that is why Kalonzo Musyoka becomes a very delicate card in the whole scheme of things. And you can see President Uhuru Kenyatta, you can see Raila Odinga, all bending backwards and saying, what do you want? What?
And why are they bending over backwards? What is it he brings to the table?
Numbers.
He brings numbers. He brings the Ukambani vote. For whatever reason, and we've said this previously on this desk, that for whatever reason, he still is the political maestro in Ukambani. And there's a whole lot of history to it. Basically, after the late Mulu Mutisia, the next senior-most, the next biggest thing in Ukambani was Kalonzo Musyoka, and has been for a long while now. And you see, credit to him, because he doesn't hold an elective office and has not held one since 2013, but has retained so much political relevance, and that is why he is affording to actually be part of the cause of the headache that Azimio is going through right now. So in terms of numbers, he is a big deal. And that is why you saw the sigh of relief in Azimio the day Kalonzo Musyoka came on board and said, I support my brother for the third time. It is you, my brother, Raila Odinga. Because it takes off the doubts about Ukambani. And if you're looking at some of the blind poll numbers that we occasionally have a look at, Ukambani was quite undecided before Kalonzo Musyoka decided who he's supporting. But once he decided that it is Azimio, the numbers of the undecideds have been going down quite significantly, and that is because he has chosen a political home. So there is a lot of value. He brings value because he's region listens to him. And look, Yvonne, politics in this country are regional.
Yeah.
Regional kingpins remain regional kingpins, whether we like it or not. And Kalonzo Musyoka, in a caucus of about 4 senior political players in Ukambani, is still top of the table. And that's why he is a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But are there any downsides to what would be a Railonso?
Actually, every so often when you look at the campaign slogans for Raila Odinga, there's an R. Already, I've seen in various places, they're already talking about an R and K, you know? But it's also, K has Karua, yeah? And K has Kenneth. And K has Kalonzo. So there's that discussion. You see it. Everybody is bidding for...
K has Kenya, I think.
Eh?
Kenya too.
Yeah, K has Kenya too. Yeah. See, you understand where Kalonzo is coming from. He has been a presidential contender. He has been a vice president. He has been a running mate twice for Raila Odinga. This would be the 3rd time if he agrees or if he's chosen to be. And you can tell where it started. He started by saying, I'm a presidential contender. Then he stepped back and said, I'll support Raila Odinga. So as a matter of consequence, he says, or he demands that the second in command position obviously should fall to him as a presidential contender who dropped his bid to support Raila Odinga. You get the point. But at the same time, there has been a discussion that, hey, this is a 3-legged stool, as Kalonzo has liked to call it every so often. So that 3-legged stool has Raila, has Kalonzo, has President Uhuru Kenyatta. And so in the thick of things, he considers others as others, you know, the other leaders of the 28 political parties, let's say 25 political parties as others. And he will keep raising his stakes. And 1.5 million votes in the 3 counties of Lower Eastern, but they are also, because unfortunately, because of the ethnic dynamics in our politics, there's also talk of other members of the community who live elsewhere, those in diaspora.
Yeah.
So they argue that he can easily bring forward about 2 million votes. And this is an election where every vote will count. So you have to keep Kalonzo on very close check.
Yeah.
If he's dissatisfied, let's say in Azimio, Kenya Kwanza is waiting in the wings, wooing him. We've seen Johnson Mudhama talking about him.
That's right.
We have seen even the deputy president head to Mwingi, Kalonzo's home district, if you may like it, and say, please come and work with us. They are persecuting you, quote unquote, in Azimio. So not so long ago, I spoke to a certain politician from Azimio, and he told me that they are treating Kalonzo Musyoka the way you treat milk. In
a plastic bag?
No. The way you treat milk ikiwa pale jikoni. You know,
when it's heating up.
Yeah, you monitor it very well. Otherwise, if you turn in one way or another,
it boils over.
It can boil over.
Okay.
So they have to keep him on very close.
I want to talk about the other name that has come up, and that's Martha Karua. And that is the Rarua ticket. Honestly, these names are just something else.
And yesterday...
There have been demands, I think, as
yes,
well.
Yes, the Azimio women leaders.
Very silent campaign.
Yeah. She's in the right places, at the right time, in the right functions, being seen with Raila Odinga. She's been going around the campaigns with him. Since she actually announced that she was joining Raila Odinga, she's actually been with him, speaking the same voice as Raila Odinga, the same Azimio One Kenya message, very loyal. And that's what Martha Karua actually is known for. Remember, she was loyal to President Uhuru Kenyatta, Mwai Kibaki, after 2007 elections. Yeah. She was very a formidable lady, and that's when Iron Lady title alipata wakati wa kusabia msimamo wake, and she's known for misimamo Yvonne. And Jana, the Azimio women leaders actually said that it's about time that we had a female running mate. I think we can listen to what they had to say as we continue with this discussion.
Martha Karua, Deputy President, Azimio. We do not know why it's rocket science. We do not see how you cannot see the value of Martha. And one of the values of Martha is, of course, she's a national figure. She has vied for presidency. Martha has been a minister. She knows how to run government. And Martha's record speaks for itself. She's a committed woman. She's known for integrity and she's known for her resoluteness. And we think that she would add not only to Azimio, but to this country as a deputy president.
And therefore, as a new leader is going to be appointed by our fifth, our presidential candidate, they will be considering a woman to be a running mate.
And Yvonne, this calls for a woman running mate is not only in the Azimio One Kenya camp, because on the other side, Anwar Guru's name, the current Kenyaga governor, has been floated as a potential running mate for DP William Ruto. And Martha Karua and Anwar Guru have history. Remember 2017, the Kenyaga gubernatorial race, where Martha Karua went all the way to the Supreme Court.
And indeed,
and then today, African Court of Justice. And she was actually given $25,000 because the court ruled that she had not been given a fair hearing. So either way, if any of the two groups pick any of the two ladies, it's the first time in the history of Kenya where we have a female running mate. Yeah, and if eventually one of the two wins, it will be a female deputy president. And I think it puts, if one names a female as a running mate, I think it puts pressure on the other one also, especially if they all narrow it down to the central Kenya as where they'll pick the running mate from. So other names have been flouted. For instance, in the Azimio side, Peter Kenneth, former member of parliament for Gatanga, his name has come up. On this other side, you have others like Rigathi Gachagua, loyal UDA supporter. He supported the deputy president from the word go. His name has also been flouted. Member of Parliament Didi Nyoro's name has also come up. So there are all these names coming up. And then other than Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, they all have one thing in common. They are from the mountain.
Yeah, and Linus, it seems to be a little tidier on the Kenya Kwanza side. Can we talk a little bit about that and, the prospects for all of those who have been named as possible running mates? You've got Anne Waiguru, Ndindi Nyoro, even Kithure Kindiki's name has come up.
Speaker Muturi.
Speaker, yes, the Speaker of the National Assembly. But there, I mean, if there is any grumbling or, sort of jostling, it is not apparent. There seems to be a tidy ship that's being run on the Kenya Kwanza side.
Allow me to put the politicians on a weighing scale, all of them on both sides. And it explains why there are problems in one side than there are on the other. Because when you go to the Azimio side, there are so many long-serving, if you can call them that, politicians who had developed their bases for a long time. I mean, Kalonzo Musyoka is not a new person there. Yeah. Martha Karua is a heavyweight. Peter Kenneth is a heavyweight. There's so many. These are big names on one side. On the other side, these are relatively junior political.
To the deputy president,
yeah,
right?
and they are junior to the deputy president. Deputy president is senior to them, and so it's quite easy there. And just talking about the Martha Karua issue a little bit, when she announced her support for Raila Odinga, there's something she said there which, in a way, now you try to interpret what she was doing there was to try to set herself apart. And she said, comrade. She called Raila Odinga comrade. What was she doing? She was invoking the second liberation movement years. Because together with Raila Odinga and others like Paul Mwite, others like Gitobo Imanyara, others like Farah Maalim, others like the late Rashid Mzee from Mombasa. These were the leaders that were pushing the reforms in the 90s, and they paid a high price. And there's one thing that we should actually acknowledge. 30 years into our multipartism, the second liberation, the reformists have never really come this close to political power. And I know there'll be arguments about Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki was not part of the core liberation movement. He was a late comer, a more decent late comer, though, if I can compare to what is happening with the Nairobi race. And he came in resigning in late 1991. It was Christmas Day, resigning as Minister for Health from KANU to join the Democratic Party to start his life in the opposition. Spent 10 years and then became the uniting figure in the opposition, becomes president in 2002. In 1992, the reform movement, the core reform movement, really revolved around the likes of the elders in the team were Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, Raila's father, and there was the late Masinde Muliro. These were the seniors in that team. And when I look at the events right now within Azimio, there is that problem of having so many politicians who are a bit jittery about their political destinies. If it was possible, they should be president at the same time. Look, in 1992, Jaramogi Oginga Odinga had the last chance to be president of Kenya. And remember, he was the candidate until Kenneth Stanley Njindo Matiba came and said, no, I am running too. And then the magic egg ended up producing about 8 presidential candidates. Now, Azimio is trying to manage things better than Ford, the Forum for the Restoration on Democracy, did in 1992, because it can easily abort. I mean, all it takes prior to Azimio signing with 25 parties was for all these guys to decide to go their own way. Kalonzo in Wiper, Raila in ODM, Uhuru picking a candidate for Jubilee or supporting one from Jubilee, and things like that. And then you'll have a divided opposition. So for Karua, this is a reunion of the pre-1992 pro-reform forces. And that's a very strong aspect when it comes to selling herself as a potential running mate with Raila Odinga. The second thing, obviously, is gender. Gender is going to be a big factor. We keep talking about men and women, women and men. And for the first time, there is this possibility, actually not just on one ticket, but on the Kenya Kwanza ticket as well, a possibility of having a female running mate. There is some momentum towards that. But typical of Kenyans, it's not a momentum that is being nurtured. For now, you see it through the women, the Women League in the Azimio movement. We've had the similar voices within the Kenya Kwanza team saying that it is time for women. So if the gender card becomes prevalent, then all factors will have to recede to the background. Your first qualification will be, what is your gender? And that will then spell bad news for Peter Kenneth, for Kalonzo Musyoka, for who else is
Peter Munya.
Peter Munya. And then you come to this other side. Peter Kenneth, yes. You come to the Kenya Kwanza side, it will knock off the aspirations of the likes of Ndindi Nyoro, some of the names we are hearing, Rigathi Gachagua, all males basically who are currently around the deputy president. But is the conversation there yet? We should see in a couple of weeks. The time is coming for that.
It is, and indeed, you know, just as we wrap, it's obviously something Azimio is well aware of. In the first coalition council meeting chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta, who's the chair of that, you know, Junet Mohammed read out a statement and talked about the fact that they formed a committee, you know, to select a running mate. They will select, is it 4 names, which will then be forwarded to the flag bearer, that's Raila Odinga, and the coalition council chair, Uhuru Kenyatta, for selection as to who the running mate will be. But it's an interesting one to see just where that goes. Not too long from now, by the way, we will know exactly who is running mate on either side of the political divide. So little time, so much to say. We could be here much longer, lakini hapo ndipo tunapotamatisha kipindi cha leo cha News Gang, na tunaanza kwa kutamatisha kipindi hiki na Bwana Francis Kashuri.
Sorry basi, sorry.